This is your first action. So the most important finances will cover you.
Ways have coming back! Get to your back! You should be in the game. Was gone. All else was darkness.
Hi, I'm Brady Bell, and I'm the director of Medal of Honor Pacific Assault. I'm going to talk a bit about the different kinds of cinematics we use in our games and the thought process behind each of them. Archival movies have been a staple of Medal of Honor games from day one. And the goal with those is to really connect the player to the location and events and even the mood of World War II before they begin playing a mission. In Pacific Assault specifically, we also use these as a story vehicle for the main player character. Because in first-person shooters, it's tough to get across the mindset of the character, we decided to, couple this archival footage with an internal monologue to drive story and show character progression over time.
Island that the Japs are hunkered down on in hopes of creating a diversion for a much
These are definitely the most straightforward movies to create for us, but require tons of upfront effort. We sent one of our producers to the National Archives in D.C. and he came back after a week with literally 100 hours of Pacific theater footage. And then the poor guy spent about 6 months categorizing the shots and then cutting them together. The Pearl Harbor cinematic that you're seeing here was especially important to us. We desperately wanted to have this moment where we could seamlessly transition from a real in-game environment that the engine is rendering to archival footage. So we spent forever matching this shot right here.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy.
Creating the teaser was no different than any other movie. Every one of them starts with a script that details shot by shot what we want to get across. And because this piece was pretty simple, we skipped traditional storyboarding in favor of a 3D animatic, which is basically the roughest representation we can create to communicate the overall concept of the piece. Whether in games or movies, teaser trailers are generally created when you don't have enough material to convey the whole scope of your game. And this one here was designed based on some photographs I came across of World War II flight crews writing personal messages on bombs. They'd write the names of buddies who were killed in action and even attached, dog tags and personal effects to bombs. So, if anything, this piece is a good example of budget constraints driving the creative behind the piece. If you don't have the money to create the biggest spectacle you can conjure up, it can be a blessing and force you to be more creative with tighter boundaries. Now, the intro cinematic is a completely different beast. It's really the anti-teaser in some ways. Here's a case where I had zero technical or budgetary constraints and was, left to dream up that spectacle I was mentioning earlier. So immediately following, a shot list being written up, one of our artists began storyboarding this sequence and compiled it into a 2D animatic where we can get a general idea of time and pace. Man, this thing has a bunch of shots that I'm just crazy about here. This transition of the American flag going up through the clouds, coming up to the top of the pole to kind of reveal the Japanese flag, and us transitioning in space to the Japanese fleet out heading towards Pearl Harbor. But the big mistake I made on this one was starting before we had iterated on the actual level design enough times for Pearl Harbor. So much of this just wouldn't work. But a lot of the key shots and transitions that we felt were really important actually did make its way across into the final movie.